don't y'all think of?
In 1994, novelist John Grisham was a wary new Hollywood hitmaker. And Oscar winner Oliver Stone was a controversial industry insider.
It occurred to me as I was on my way here that it was the Ides of March. And I would be in public, and people would have a clear shot at me from across the street and from high buildings.
But Stone's latest button pusher was about to pit him against Grisham, and truth in art against deadly consequences. Grisham and Stone shared more than a cynical view of Hollywood. Each served his country prior to becoming famous. They both got married in 1981. Their first experience-based works took nearly a decade to reach the screen. Between 1993 and 1999, each turned out a project a year. And by 1999, each celebrity's film grosses were nearly $500 million, including Stone's Natural Born Killers. In the summer of 1994, Oliver Stone's Natural Born Killers introduced the world to two media-savvy serial killers who ultimately get away with their crimes. The film immediately ignited big debate, if not big box office.
John Grisham attacked the film and me, saying something to the effect that a hard lawsuit against the likes of Oliver Stone would be a good, cold slap in the laughing, haughty face of Hollywood.
This was a feud of the first order in the entertainment world. It wasn't just about warring egos, although it certainly was that.
Even as Stone was out promoting NBK, it raged back into the headlines with a murderous twist.
What made Natural Born Killers a cause célèbre is that the copycat killings began.
I'm looking at the end of a barrel of a gun, and it appeared that he was pulling the trigger 2 or 3 times because there was a jerking motion.
Boy-girlfriend teamings were committing crimes, and everyone was saying this is a case of life imitating art.
I'm a natural born killer, man.
4 people were killed in France, at least 1 in England, several in the United States, and 1 copycat killer from up in Canada from the Royal Mounted Police.
Most people are equipped to see movies. I cannot, of course, talk for lunatics, people who accept movies at face value and believe exactly what they see on the screen and then go out and do something.
In 1995, Sarah Edmondson and Benjamin Darris's alleged copycat crime spree would trigger more than tragedy. It would launch a bitter year-long battle between John Grisham and Oliver Stone.
Sarah and Ben were at her family's wilderness cabin. They did 17 tabs of acid. That's extraordinary. They also saw the video of Natural Born Killers again and again and again.
She stated that she watched Natural Born Killers several times, and they decided that they were going to kill some people.
4 days later, Mississippi cotton gin owner Bill Savage had been murdered, and Louisiana convenience store clerk Patsy Byers was paralyzed and left for dead. After the 2 teens were arrested, Sarah claimed their rampage had been inspired by Natural Born Killers. The confession enraged Bill Savage's most influential friend, best-selling author John Grisham. Grisham poured his grievances onto the pages of the Oxford American, a small southern magazine he published.
We were doing a double issue on crime, and John, at the last minute, he told me he had this piece that he just had to write, and we had to make space for it. I knew people were going to read it because of John's name, and I thought John was gutsy in writing it.
John Grisham wrote a very passionate article, first describing in detail the viciousness of the crimes, but then, to the surprise of me, he went right into discussing Natural Born Killers, saying that Oliver Stone, his intent with that film was to incite violence among young people. That's where it all started to come to a furor.
As soon as we released it, there was an immediate response from the media. I mean, they saw the gladiator aspect, Grisham versus Stone, and of course, they relished that.
Grisham's attack on the film angrily advocated suing Stone for a defective product, a product liability lawsuit. Joseph Simpson, a superstar Southern lawyer representing the paralyzed store clerk, was listening.
We did not have complete confidence that it was a product liability suit, but we were throwing everything we could in the case at it, so we amended to join Time Warner and Oliver Stone for making the movie.
Stone dismissed the $20 million suit as preposterous, then struck back at Grisham personally with a heated reply of his own in a small Los Angeles newspaper.
The First Amendment is the First Amendment. And no excuse need to be given by me or the producers of Natural Born Killers or anyone for that matter as to why we express ourselves in the way that we do.
Oliver Stone said, look at Shakespeare, look at any good literature. Grisham himself, in his best-selling novels, frequently describes scenes of murder and mayhem.
I'm sorry, but Hamlet and Natural Born Killers are not on the same page. Neither are The Firm and Natural Born Killers. One looks at moral issues and one dismisses them from the screen.
In a matter of weeks, two of the industry's least public figures had shot from a private debate into the national spotlight. But the first and only time the two actually squared off against each other was on the pages of Vanity Fair.
I communicated with both Grisham and Stone. They didn't want to talk to each other still, but they did agree to fax each other through us. Grisham would fax me a response. I would fax that to Stone. He would fax back. It was entertaining and important, we thought. And when it came out, it got a strong response.
Grisham versus Stone was now far beyond an ideological feud. It had become a constitutional battle.
We went through the First Circuit Court of Baton Rouge, the Supreme Court in New Orleans, and the Supreme Court of the United States. And all of them said we had a cause of action, but that we had to prove that when making the movie, there was an intent for them to go out and kill somebody. Oliver Stone himself said a pacifist could watch this movie and would want to go out and kill somebody. There isn't any doubt that the film inspired Sarah and Benjamin Darris to do this.
Industry rebel Stone had suddenly become the official face of Hollywood in a court case that threatened to reform American movie making. Meanwhile, John Grisham stepped completely out of the debate, and the movie industry itself.
John Grisham then made a shocking move in that he withdrew his novels as potential motion pictures, which meant the loss of millions of dollars in income.
Over the next 3 years, Grisham went on to write 3 more bestsellers, while Stone courted even more controversy with NBK.
And what does Oliver Stone do? He releases a director's cut of A Natural Born Killers.
There were about 3 minutes worth of additional scenes that were a lot more over the top and much more incredibly violent. Stone makes the argument that this would have made it very clear even more that this was a satire and not to be taken literally.
If it's a satire, only 1% the intellectuals of the United States understand it's a satire.
In 2000, John Grisham began shopping his work in Hollywood again. He hadn't forgotten Natural Born Killers, but his stance had shifted.
John Grisham did an interview with Entertainment Weekly in which he backed down quite a bit from what he was saying, admitted that it was done in the emotion of the moment.
Grisham stepped back a bit to say, you know, okay, it is hard to draw a line here, but filmmakers have a responsibility, and Stone has abrogated his responsibility.
The war of words finally ended on March 13, 2001. 7 years after Natural Born Killers' release, the courts dismissed the buyer's case on First Amendment grounds. The decision was immediately hailed by Hollywood and appealed by buyers' attorneys. It remains the only product liability lawsuit filed against the movie.
This is an issue that's going to be with Oliver Stone and John Grisham for a long time. John Grisham still says he hates the movie more than anybody else, and with Oliver Stone, it's a very personal issue because he's the one being attacked here as somehow inciting violence.
I don't think Stone and Grisham will ever agree on the effects of that movie, and I'm on Grisham's side.
You have the choice to go into the movie house and you have the choice to walk out. That is a basic freedom. Life is dangerous. Ideas are